I've got about an hour before my first meeting of the day, and because I am going to be working late tonight, I was thinking on my walk this morning that I would really like to start today with something joyful. And I decided that that is going to be hanging out with you, flipping through my completed travel journal from my recent Hong Kong and Perth trip. I've been spending a lot more time in my traveler's notebooks. Ever since my video last week, I have found this renewed sense of love for my traveler's notebooks, and I was able to finish my travel journal over the weekend, and I'm really excited to share it with you because something about travel journals and me just don't mix. I have a horrible track record of finishing them. I'm still in the process of finishing my Japan travel journal, but I wanted to celebrate the fact that I actually managed to finish a travel journal, and I thought I would also use this as an opportunity to share some of the things that I picked up on my trip. Before we get into it, I wanted to say a really big thank you to all of you who watched and commented on my last video. I have been a bit slow to respond to comments, but I have been reading them all, and I will respond to everyone who took the time to comment. The comments were just so thoughtful and so kind, and it was comforting to know that I wasn't alone in the feelings that I had. And honestly, it has only been a week, but I have been really enjoying being in my traveler's notebooks. I carry them around with me from room to room. I bring it out with me when I'm at the doctor's office. Yeah, I've been really happy with this traveler's notebook. It definitely has gotten a lot heavier with all of this extra hardware, but I don't mind it. It just feels really comforting. It's been really lovely. So thank you so much for your encouragement. I'm happy to say that desire to get that A5 size leather cover is slowly dissipating for now. So I think I'm going to stay in my traveler's notebooks a little while longer. And as an extension, I guess, of this experiment, I felt really inspired to pick up my travel journal, my traveler's notebook, and work through this. And as a bit of a side note, another thing that I really like about being in the traveler's notebook system is the fact that I'm using the same size inserts for my regular day-to-day as well as when I travel. And so because I have a separate insert for journaling, I can easily transfer that over to my travel journal when I travel, and then when I come home, I can take that insert and put it back in here. So I really like that I don't really have to make any drastic changes when I travel. Admittedly, I don't travel that often, but it's just nice to know that there's some continuity there, so I do really appreciate that. I also just changed my travel journal approach a little bit on this trip compared to Japan. In a nutshell, I focused more on documenting thoughts and observations in this travel journal as opposed to trying to document the chronological order of the trip or the day-to-day. So I'm just gonna sip a coffee. And I also have my little A6 Hobonichi from last year because at the end of the year, I did document the trip. So I may need to reference this a little bit just to remind me of the trip. So that's another thing actually that I wanted to point out is when I travel, I do like to keep a bit of a daily log of what we do. And I did that in here in December. And then when we got to the new year, I continued documenting it in my Midori Hibino. So I feel like I do end up with that chronological order, but it's just much more lightweight. And this is really helpful in just reminding me of what happened, but it's definitely not as creative as the travel journal, but I just think it just makes it a little bit easier. It's more sustainable for me to just write things down without thinking about being creative. And then here I can just focus a little more on being creative. So this is the TN that I typically take with me when I travel. It's one of the first covers that I got. It's the dark brown. and it has developed a nice patina over the years, but I just like it because it doesn't have really any special customizations. So it feels a little more, I guess, replaceable if something were to happen to it. I don't have any charms on it right now, but maybe at some point I will add something. This brass clip I got when I went to the Superior Labor and Wonder Pens workshop. I think it was 2 summers ago. It permanently lives on my travel journal. Over here, this is my long form journal that I used on the trip. So I put it back in here for the video, but normally I archive all my morning pages inserts in a little wooden folder box that I got secondhand from Facebook Marketplace. And when I'm done this video, I will take it out and I will just slot it in. But I just wanted to show you, like, this is usually my setup when I'm traveling. I also usually have an extra plastic folder to collect ephemera, and sometimes I also have my sticker release insert. I won't necessarily show you this because it's really just a long form, so when I'm traveling I continue to journal the way that I do even when I'm at home. Sometimes when I'm traveling it's a little more of like a play-by-play of what happened that day, but it's also just how I'm feeling, different thoughts. So I always need to have a journal like this no matter where I am, whether I'm traveling or whether I'm at home. So this travel insert, it has a little bit of a history. It is a blank Midori cream paper insert, and I initially started it for my Japan trip. But when I got to the Narita airport, I ended up picking up an insert from the Traveler's Factory in Narita Airport, and I decided that I wanted to use that instead for my Japan trip, and I only had a couple of pages filled in here. So that is why it says Friday, October 4th, because that was the day that we left Toronto for our Japan trip in 2024. So all of this, I was confused, but all of this is actually stuff that I drew on the plane. So it's a little confusing. But then all of this is from a trip to the Bahamas that I took with my family a few months later. And so I decided to use this as a travel kind of sketchbook for my family trip. And so you can see here, that was Sunday, December 22nd. And I just did sketches in here. So this is a sketch of Coconut looking really sad just before we dropped him off to his little daycare. And then I had this with me when I was on my trip, and I would just pull it out and sketch things when I felt like it. And I debated whether I wanted to color these in with watercolor, but I think I'm just going to leave them. I kind of like how this looks. So that was all that I did for the Bahamas trip. I had a couple of pages of like ephemera from the trip. And then because I had so much left of this insert, I decided to use it for the Hong Kong and Perth trip that we took at the end of last year. So on the cover here, I just have the airports that we went to. And then I also have this Pan American sticker. This is from Travelers. This is a Travelers company sticker as well. So I love that they had little Australia ones. The thing that I did differently with this journal versus my Japan trip, which is still not done, we will have to talk about that another day, is I actually did do some of this while I was on my trip. And so I worked on these pages while I was in Hong Kong and Perth. And part of that was because the point wasn't to go sightseeing and go shopping every day. It was more about spending time with family and having a lot of downtime at home. So I did have a lot more free time to do this kind of thing because we weren't necessarily like out and about all day. And I started out very similarly to how I approach my Japan trip, where I tried to kind of do this in chronological order. I tried to keep some of the ephemera that was relevant to that day. I think I even added some dates. Yeah, like I added some dates at the top, and then I would add a little bit of context if I wanted to. That's kind of how I started off. This is the Hong Kong subway, which is so much better and more efficient than the Toronto subway. The difference here is instead of saying like on December 17th, we did this, we did this, we did this, because I was actually capturing that here, I started to actually write down observations and thoughts based on conversations that I was having or things that I was seeing. During my Japan trip, I collected a lot of observations as well in my passport, traveler's notebook. And I didn't end up really doing anything with those observations. Like I would just write a sentence, but I didn't really expand on them or look into them. And they kind of ended up getting lost. And so for this trip, again, I had more time, and I guess I was less interested in really capturing and then we did this, and then we did this, and, you know, here are all the photos. And I was more interested in trying to capture some of the things that I observed so I could think a little more deeply on them. So here I just talked about the Hong Kong transit system and some of the history that my mom told me, because she was there when the system was just getting built. She remembers a time when there was no MTR. And so it was really interesting to hear a bit about her perspective and what she remembered about it. And then I was kind of inspired to look into a little bit of the history, like what the first lines were. And then I just talked a little bit about some of the stations that we went to often. Unfortunately, I only had 3 days in Hong Kong, so we really had to maximize the time we were there. And on the first day, my parents were so sweet, and they indulged me in taking me to Muze Pens. So I had kind of had an idea that I wanted to get a new pen, which you can see is drawn right here. I don't know if this was maybe a bit of a panic purchase, because I had heard about all of the price increases on fountain pens. And so I knew that I wanted this pen. I had wanted it for a while, and I thought it would be really nice to see it in person and be able to decide if I really wanted to add it to my collection. And luckily, Muze had the exact pen, the exact color, and the exact nib that I was interested in. And so it was just wonderful being able to be in Hong Kong with my parents again, because it had been many years since we were there, and also to experience this store together with them, which is not a hobby that I had, or not something that I was really aware of the last time I was in Hong Kong. And I did get the Pilot E95S, which I currently have attached to my therapy notes book. It's this beautiful pocket pen, and I just love this burgundy section, this inlaid nib, and it is an extra fine. I have struggled with my extra fine vanishing point, and I actually ended up selling that because I just really struggled to write with it. But this extra fine is incredible. It is a joy to write with. And so I find it especially great when I'm taking notes, because it's so thin that the ink dries very quickly. And I'm just so happy that I was able to find this. And they had only one left. And my parents got me this pen as a Christmas gift. So I was going to buy it with my own money, but they insisted on buying it for me. So I have this very special memory now. This pen is extra sentimental because it was a gift from my parents. And it's also the first time that I was able to be in Hong Kong with my partner. And so just so many wonderful memories. And now I really cherish this pen even more than I thought I would. Gonna grab some clips in case I need them. It was just so nice to meet the owner and the staff there. And while I was there, I did also pick up 2 of their inks. I just straight up asked if they had any like special inks that they could only get at Muze. And these were the 2 inks that they showed me. So they are Lennon Toolbar inks. This one is called Tai Nan Street, and this one is Sham Shui Po. And I believe this is the subway station that they are closest to, and this is the street that they are located on. Let me actually just check the MTR. Let me see the MTR. This is an MTR station. So these are both waterproof inks. I have swatches here. The Tai Nan Street is like a teal, and this is, it's very dark, but it's like a very dark green. And they did show me a bit of a writing sample in the store, and it's beautiful. So I'm very excited to use these, and I love that they're waterproof. Overall, just such a treat to be able to visit Muze in person. One of the highlights of my trip. And then we realized that there was a stationery store quite close by, and this store was highly recommended by Elle from the Common Corner. So Elle, if you happen to be watching this, thank you so much for all of your recommendations on places to visit. So Elle sent me a Google Maps with different locations pinned on places that she suggested or she recommended in Hong Kong. And if we had more days there, I would have loved to have gone to all the places that she recommended. I appreciate that she did say, I highly recommend Funcolor. So in my mind, if there was only one place that I could go to, I decided to prioritize Funcolor because it's actually walking distance from Muze. So we ended up walking there, and it is this adorable store that is just packed from floor to ceiling with stationery. So there's like walls of stickers, and there was a wall of rolls, like PET tape rolls, where you could pull them down and cut sections off and just pay for those sections. I was super overwhelmed when I was in there, but in a very pleasant way, because it was just like, it was so nice. I did pick up some things that I'll show you. So first of all, they give you this really adorable plastic bag when you purchase from Funcolor. And I picked up a few things, mostly gifts for pen pals. And I tried to focus on picking stickers that seem to be exclusive to Funcolor. I don't know if that's true, but that's the impression I got. So I got these really adorable stickers. And I also got these postcards. These are definitely from Funcolor. So I'm excited to look at them with you because I've kept them in the packaging for this whole time. These are so cute. I spent a really long time at Funcolor. Because I took so long, my partner ended up getting some bubble tea that was in the same area because I was spending too much time. The other thing that we did that day that I didn't end up putting in this travel journal is we also went to Logon, which is I guess like a general store. The one that we went to is in a rather large mall. And I was able to get the Logon Manual Factory Bear. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. It's not really stationery, but I've seen this bear around, and I have to credit Tiffany from Talksmot for even alerting me to this bear. As soon as she told me about it, I just thought it was so adorable. Really happy that I was able to get that. We also went to a souvenir shop, and I was able to pick up a few more things. The first thing is this keychain that you see on my desk. It was 38 Hong Kong dollars, and I initially thought that I might repurpose these charms as charms for my traveler's notebook. But I just like having them all together, and I also suspect these will scratch the covers. These are just such classic core memories for me, like this specific brand of instant noodles, this bowl of instant noodles with a fried egg and Spam, and then just this Hong Kong sign. So I really loved it. And then this was another core memory for me, chrysanthemum tea drink in a juice box. So this was also $28 Hong Kong. And then I got these lovely stickers. I honestly wish I had gotten a second pack of them because they're just so nice, and they were $30 Hong Kong. Yeah, I just love the colors of these stickers. I think they are really nice and neutral, and they kind of go perfectly with the types of color schemes that I tend to gravitate towards. I unfortunately don't really read Chinese, so I don't know what these say, so I'll have to pop them into like a Google Translate to make sure, but I'm pretty sure some of these are like MTR stations. And then I'll just have to look up what some of the other ones are, but I just really love these, and I've already used some of them to decorate my insert covers, and of course I think I'll be sharing some of these with friends for Happy Mail. So yeah, I'm really happy with this set, and I honestly wish I had gotten more, because who knows when I'll go back to Hong Kong, and I'm sure by the time you go back it'll just be hard to find the exact same things. So yeah, I think this is just such a great variety of stickers, and I'm really pleased with this set. So yeah, that is all the stationery that I picked up. Let's continue. So here's where my journaling approach started to change a little bit. This was less about what we did that day and more about some observations. So for example, here, I talked about the bamboo scaffolding in Hong Kong, which I still think is honestly wild that they use bamboo to build scaffolding around buildings. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about scaffolding, and I learned about different styles. And then I also talked about the parks in Hong Kong. So there were a few beautiful parks close to where my aunt lives, and they were so curated and different from the parks in Australia and in Canada. There were a lot of facilities for seniors, so a lot of exercise, and it almost felt like I was in like an amusement park. So I really appreciated the focus on the aging population and just being able to wander around the parks. And then we went to Kowloon Walled City, which was just amazing. And if you do get an opportunity to go to Hong Kong, I highly recommend visiting this place. It was so fascinating. I wanted to learn more about it. And so I did do some reading about it just to get the history on it. And I wrote about that in here. These were just some of the remaining structures. Everything else was demolished. And this is hard to see in the photo, but this was kind of like a reproduction of how built up the city was. So if you're unfamiliar with the Kowloon Walled City, it was kind of like a city within Hong Kong, and it was walled off from the rest of Hong Kong, and it basically operated as its own city. I don't think I can do it justice talking about it because I really just learned about it. It just had like a very unique, strong community tie. Unfortunately, it was demolished, which is really sad. They had to displace all of the residents. So it was a little sad that now it's this beautiful park, but to know like what used to stand there. Anyway, I'm just really glad I was able to visit it and learn more about it. So if you're really into history, I recommend looking into the Kowloon walled city. We also went to the Star Ferry. It was crazy that it only cost $1 Hong Kong dollar to take the ferry one way. And that's Hong Kong dollars. That's not even Canadian or US dollars. So I thought that was really cool. Like I had grown up being on the Star Ferry, but again, it was just really cool to experience it again, especially with my partner there. And then I just had a page around some of the memorable food. The food in Hong Kong is amazing. Yeah, best clay pot of my life. Over half an hour we waited in line just to eat at this restaurant, and it was so delicious. And then this was like the best wonton soup that I have had. It's just so good. If you are going to Hong Kong, I highly recommend. Just remember to bring your own napkins because a lot of these places don't provide napkins. And then there was also this place right beside the noodle shop called Australia Dairy Company that's famous for their hot milk curd, which is really good. So this was just great. These were just some of the highlights, but I had so much good food in Hong Kong. It's so affordable and it's so delicious. We also went to the Kai Tak Stadium, which is actually where the Hong Kong airport used to be, which was in the middle of the city. And so when you would arrive in Hong Kong, this was their international airport, you would be like flying through high-rise buildings just to land in Hong Kong. And I'm so sad that I don't remember this because I guess I was just too young to remember it. So my parents remember it, of course, but they ended up relocating the airport to somewhere else, and then they turned the airport into a stadium. And so we were just exploring that, and this was a surprise. I wasn't that excited to see it, but it's actually really cool. And there's a lot of history there as well. They also have like a flight simulation where you can watch what it was like for pilots to land in the middle of the city. It was supposed to be like very dangerous, so I'm glad that they moved it, but to be able to fly through buildings and be able to see like people in their homes as you're arriving in Hong Kong it just sounds so surreal. On our way to Perth, we also went to the Sky Deck, which if you are in the Hong Kong airport, you can go to the Sky Deck and watch planes take off. If you are in the Hong Kong airport, I highly recommend getting a cheese tart from King Bakery. It was the best thing that I've ever had. So we bought 2 and then we walked to the Sky Deck and we ate them while we watched planes taking off. It was so lovely. So then we made our way to Perth. Here I did even less stationery shopping. I did get some stickers, and I got this iron-on patch that I might potentially put on a notebook at some point, but I wanted to get some Australia related stickers for my travel journal, so I found these flags, sharks, monkeys, and these gilded stickers, and then these tattoos. I found these first, and I was thinking maybe these would work because I couldn't find any stickers, and then I found these at a tourist shop later, and so I got these. And then one of the days we came across a Daiso, and we don't have Daiso in Toronto, and so I just picked up a few stickers. I actually picked up some of these in Japan, and I really loved them, and so I just picked up a few more. I think these koalas are really cute. I should probably add some of these into my travel journal, actually. I think they're really cute. So, and then I just got these little swirly ribbon things. That's what I picked up in Perth, but other than that, aside from that, it was mostly spending time with family and just writing observations. So I'm still doing dates here, but you'll see I stopped doing dates. Here's just a reflection on what summers in Perth are like, i.e. the temperatures, because it was extremely hot, and on Christmas Day it was a high of 43 degrees. This was just some thoughts on bush flies. These flies, I remember from my very first time visiting Australia going crazy, and then I kind of forgot about them until I was back in Australia this time. But they are determined little flies, and I learned that some people like to take eucalyptus leaves from trees and use them as like little fly swatters, and I tried it one day and I think it helped a little, but these flies really are a bit of a nuisance. They were driving me a little crazy. Here are just some thoughts on Perth as a city versus Toronto. And then here I just talked about Perth beaches and how when you drive along the coast, there's quite a difference between like really large multi-million dollar mansions and then old cottages that are sort of originals to the coast. So that just seeing that juxtaposition is really interesting. And then I talked a little bit about Christmas Day and what it was like to experience a Christmas Day on the beach. And it was a very different experience from growing up around snow and thick winter jackets around Christmas to seeing people in bathing suits and little Santa hats at the beach. I'm glad that I got to experience that. Then just a little bit on the food and the fish and chips specifically, because there is a fishing ban in Western Australia. And so my in-laws were telling me that it's going to be much more challenging to get fish and chips now for the next little while. And then just some of the coffees and things that we had while we were there. This is one of my favorite memories of the trip. My partner was telling me that life-saving contests are pretty common in Australia. Unfortunately, because it was the holidays, they weren't running any competitions, but there was one lifeguard that was completing their requalification, and I basically got to watch it. So we got to watch them swim out and save a victim, and then secondly save a victim using one of these boards. We got to climb up the watchtower. I don't know if that's what it's called. And they showed me like the flag that they would use if they saw a shark. So it was just a really cool inside look at what goes on at the beach in terms of the lifesavers. And I think the majority of these are like clubs, if I'm not mistaken, and a lot of it is volunteer based. It's not something that I grew up with, so I love learning about the differences here. Unfortunately, these photos did not do the actual sunset justice. I used glossy sticker paper, and I just printed a bunch off my printer, and these are just so much more beautiful than they're looking. But anyway, yeah, the Perth sunsets are something else. I just adore them. And also, I saw a snake. I saw 2 snakes when I was in Australia walking around at night, and apparently that's rare. And then this is just some thoughts on my in-laws' routine. They have a very analog routine. I was so inspired when I was with them. Like every morning they listen to the radio, they have tea. My mother-in-law reads a book in bed while she's drinking her tea before she starts her day. At 5:30, they pull out a little pre-dinner cheese and cracker snack. Sometimes they have wine or beer when it's close to the weekend, or maybe they'll have like a non-alcoholic drink, and they'll just snack on cheese and crackers while they cook dinner. And then they read the newspaper in the morning. We don't even get the newspaper delivered anymore. So it was one of those moments where it really allowed me to step back and reevaluate my routine and whether there was anything that I wanted to take from this and incorporate into my daily routine. So this was a really nice reflection. And then for the rest of this, it's mostly just additional photos. And I didn't really put too much effort here. I just printed a bunch of photos, and then whatever didn't kind of fit in here, I kind of shoved into the back here. And then some additional like explanations. These are additional ephemera that didn't really fit into the journal because I did do a lot of this while I was away, and then this I kind of added in as I was emptying out my ephemera collection. So we didn't do the hop on hop off bus when we were in Hong Kong, but I did like this map of the city, and so I kept this. And then these are just some little pieces of wrapping paper from Christmas presents that I received from my family. And this is just a little donut wrapper from a donut place that my partner had a lot of fond memories from. This is just a map that I pulled out from a tourist, like a tour guide book. But I like that it shows the greater Perth area, and then it also shows the Perth city map. And then this is just, my mother-in-law wrote an entire schedule on paper for our plans while we were there, and so I asked her if I could keep it. Transit map for Perth, some menus from our trip home, and then this was a little postcard that I picked up when I was in Hong Kong. There were a few duty-free stores in the Hong Kong airport, and the idea was that you could take this postcard and stamp it at every duty-free, and it would make each stamp would build upon the other, but I only got one stamp. I didn't have time to go to the other duty-frees, so that's all that I managed to get. So that is my journal. Last few things that I wanted to show you is at the Hong Kong airport. I did pick up a few things. One of them is this Miffy blind box. I know blind boxes have been a thing for a while, but I've really never gotten one, and I've always wanted one, but there's so many to choose from that I get overwhelmed with options. And so I spent my time while I was in Hong Kong thinking, going into stores, considering, and eventually I decided on Miffy just because I really like this character, and I looked at all the potential options on the side of the box, and I decided I would be happy with any of these. So I thought we could open that together. And this is so exciting. You can see there's dust here because I've been saving it for so long. Okay. So this is what it looks like on this mini bag. Okay. Which one do you think it is? Wait, okay, it's the one on the front. I'm very happy with this. I actually really like this red one. So cute. Okay, I love that she has a little, I'm choosing to say this is a dog. She has a little dog purse. I love that she's red because I'm really into red right now. I love this. So I was thinking I could put this on maybe one of my purses, or maybe I could just have her sit on the desk. I could just have her sit on the desk. She's so cute. Okay, really happy with this one. First blind box experience was 10 out of 10. The next and final thing I want to show you is also not stationery. It's very much mostly gifts for other people, but I wanted to show you before I start giving them away. So at the Hong Kong airport, they had these, this is big. You can see it's really big here. They had these foodie dim sum duty-free little toys, and these are also little charms that you can add to your purse or whatever. My plan with these is I'm going to give them away as gifts, and also maybe keep one or two for myself. And so before I give them to my niece and nephew and sister and all that, I thought I would show you. This is a crispy radish roll, and the way they actually displayed these in the duty free is they got little steamed baskets and they would set them inside. And so when I give these as gifts to my friends, I think I'm going to try to find some steamed baskets. This is an egg tart, and my sister loves egg tarts, so I'm thinking about maybe giving this to her. But look how cute this is. This one is steamed beef balls, and they're magnets. So I think this is so cute. I like that they've got these little like legs. Birthday bun. When you're celebrating your birthday, you can get these little like steamed buns. Sometimes they have like lotus inside, and they're very like spongy pork dumpling with shrimp. So cute. Look at this face. And it says here, what? How can it be? I just really like this. Oh, it says Susie Picky. So I don't know if they all have names. This one is funny. This is like a stress ball. So when you squeeze it, these things come out. And this is barbecue pork. This is one of my all-time favorite things to get when I go out for dim sum, because I don't know, I've just loved it since I was a child, and so whenever I go, I always crave it. So I don't know. And this one says, I'm steamed. It says anger, so I don't know if I want to keep an anger one, but this could be kind of fun to, kind of play with when you're feeling angry. And this is the pineapple bun, or bolo bao, and it says pineapple bun without pineapple. Why? Anyway, it's yum. In Canada, we don't often have them cut open with like a slab of butter. It is really delicious if you do that. So I might keep this one because I think this is one of my favorites. Star Pour Tea. Keep calm and drink tea. I like that it has these sunglasses on it. I'm not sure what this is. Doesn't seem to be a character, but there's this. This is shrimp dumpling, and you can put the shrimp inside here if you wish. I have a friend in mind that I want to give this to. So this one says, I will remember next time, promise. Forgetful. Okay, I don't know. Is that sending a bad message if I give it to a friend? And last but not least, I have this, which is sticky rice chicken. I think I'm going to give my niece this because she loves sticky rice, and she also really loves stuffies. She's at an age where she still likes stuffies, so I think I'm going to give this to her. All right, well, that is everything that I wanted to share with you today. Let me know if you have any questions about places that I visited or anything that you saw today. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm in such a great mood to start the rest of my day. It's been really nice to reminisce about this trip. It was really nice to reconnect with this travel notebook and actually get my travel journal done, which is amazing. I'm going to archive these now, and I just love that I have my memories and my thoughts all in these two notebooks. Hope you enjoyed hanging out, and I will see you soon in the next video. If you made it this far into the video, then I wanted to thank you with a little giveaway opportunity. So I did actually pick up another one of these manual factory bears, and I would like to send it to one of you. So to enter this giveaway, this is Editing Allison here. I'm speaking over my original recording because I realized that I wasn't quite clear on the giveaway details. So the giveaway is going to be open until March the 14th. And in order to enter, I ask that you make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Leave a comment to answer this question. What's a stationery item in your collection that you've loved for a very long time, and why? Please consider following me on Instagram or joining my Patreon. I do have a free Patreon tier. The last step is sign up using the Google form that I will link in my description. And I will just use that to randomly select the winner, and it gives me a chance to contact the winner through email. I will announce the winner in a community post, so not in a comment, and send them an email to confirm. And if I don't hear back within 24 to 36 hours, then I'll randomly select another winner and continue doing that until I am able to confirm the winner. All right, that is all. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know my videos are long and they're very chatty, and I'm so grateful that you're here and that you choose to spend your time with me. So that's everything for now. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you soon in the next video.